Do you want to learn how to use the Twitter Bootstrap navbar in your Rails application? Then stick around to find out how. I'm Thomas with Brain Trust Digital. I'm a full stack developer obsessed with learning. If you're interested in learning full stack web development, please consider subscribing below. On that note, I wanted to take a second to say thank you. We recently passed 100 subscribers, which is crazy to me. I know that that's not on me, that's solely because of your support, your likes, your shares. I really appreciate you taking the time to interact with my content. And please let me know if there are other web dev related topics that I can cover to help you specifically solve problems or in various places that you're stuck. In this quick tip, we're going to walk through how to use the Twitter Bootstrap nav to turn our navigation partial into a Twitter Bootstrap navbar with dropdowns and responsive collapse for mobile views. Our navigation has felt a little neglected from the start, so this will be a nice update to our AWS Rails website. If you haven't seen that series yet, I'll link that here in the cards as well as down below in the description. With that out of the way, let's get into the Twitter Bootstrap nav tutorial. We have our AWS Rails application loaded up locally. We're gonna go ahead and fix up this navigation section here. Since we're using Bootstrap, you can go to getbootstrap.com to look at the documentation about how to implement our navigation. So there's a couple options here. You can click examples and scroll down to the navbars section, and then just find the navbar you like. A lot of these here in the middle look the same, but that's just showing examples of how they collapse at different points. That's what we're gonna go ahead and create. If you wanted to go this route, you could just right click inspect element, and then right click on the element and click copy HTML, and then just replace that HTML, or rather replace the links in that HTML with your own links in your navigation. Instead, we're gonna go through the documentation and go that route. Here in the documentation, you can go ahead and click the search bar. We're gonna type out nav and click on the navbar component. So we'll just scroll down a little bit so you can see the example. Here you can see various classes and HTML elements that we need to add to our current navigation partial to allow it to utilize Bootstrap's clean presentation. So let's go ahead and flip over to our application now. If you've been following along with the series, we've got our navigation in a partial called nav. We then include that partial in the header, which is included on every page. We want to bring our navigation up to the top of the page in the Bootstrap nav. So we're going to pull this shared nav partial and we're going to move that up into the application layout. It's still going to appear on every single page. It will just no longer be part of this large header element that contains the graph. So let's go into the layouts application.html.arb, and then just before the header, we'll go ahead and paste our shared nav. We'll go back to the front end and refresh. And you can see our navigation is now in the correct spot. Obviously, we haven't changed any of the styles or added the additional HTML to the navigation partial, so it's not going to look like the Bootstrap nav yet. But let's go ahead and do that now. Now let's open our nav partial. We'll start to add some of the required styles. Our nav element itself needs a navbar. Then we're going to add navbar expanded MD for medium. This will collapse after the medium breakpoint. Then we're going to add navbar dark, BG dark. We're going to add one more style that we have just to throw a little additional padding on each side. The next thing we can do is get rid of all of our extra pipe characters. So let's just go ahead and select all those and delete those now. Next, just before home, we're going to add an additional link that'll just go right back to the home page. This will kind of act like our branding or our logo. I'm just going to say AWS Rails, and then have the Bootstrap classes of navbar brand. All of the remaining links need to be wrapped in list items inside of an unordered list. We'll go ahead and tab these in. Our unordered list needs to have a few classes, navbar-nav, and then mr auto, which is just margin right auto, meaning all the links are going to get pushed to the left side of the screen. All of our list items need to have the class nav-item. So let's go ahead and add that now. And each link in our navigation has to have the class nav link. One last thing here we almost forgot to do is let's go ahead and close off our UL. With that, we're getting pretty close. Let's go ahead and refresh our page and see how that looks. So that's not quite what we're looking for, but we are getting close. Flip back over. We're getting pretty close, but we're missing a few elements. The elements we're missing control the Bootstrap collapse that makes this so nice on mobile devices. So let's go ahead and flip back over to the documentation. Check that out now. So here's the button that will appear when your menu is collapsed. Click it to expand the mobile navigation. Then below that, you can see the collapse div that you want to wrap your entire unordered list of links in. Let's just grab these two elements. We'll go ahead and paste them in our code right here below our navbar brand, but above our unordered list. And we'll just clean up styling a bit. We're going to rename ours our main. Let's tab this out. And then this whole list will get tabbed in once. We'll close off that div. We should be good to go. So let's flip back over to our page and reload. So the one thing you'll notice is our navbar is collapsed right now. So while we're very close, we must have made a mistake. Let's flip back over to code and see if we can figure out what's wrong. I believe this is navbar expand, not expanded. But we can confirm that real quick in the documentation. Yeah, there we go. In their case, they're expanding at LG. In our case, we're going to do MD for medium. So our navbar will collapse at a smaller size. But there you go, that fixes our problem. If we go ahead and resize our navigation bar to simulate what it would look like for a mobile user, once we hit that medium breakpoint, then it'll collapse down into this vertical navigation bar, which works really nice on mobile. So you could stop here if you'd like, but in our case, I think it'd be nice to tuck these logout and profile links into a dropdown. I feel like that's a common pattern you see on sites where you log in this fashion. You have your username, or it's or an email or a full name, with a dropdown that contains then these extra links. It just ends up being a nice clean presentation. So let's go ahead and do that now. We can just go ahead and grab the dropdown navigation item example. And we're going to copy that and bring it over. We're only going to utilize our dropdown if the user is logged in. Just within this block here is when you'd have a dropdown. If you're not logged in, then you'll just see the login and sign up links. So we're just going to paste the code we copied here, and let's clean it up a little bit. For the ID, we're going to name this user dropdown. We're only going to need our two links, so we can get rid of those. In fact, we can just grab these two links and move them down. You can see from the above example that we no longer need the list item on these two drop-down link items. Let's go ahead and remove that now. The next difference that you can see is that the links have the drop-down item class on them as opposed to the nav link class. So let's change that now. Then we can get rid of these two example items. One other thing I'd like to change is the sorting here. I feel like it makes more sense to put the profile link before the logout link in the dropdown. And then one last item before we test here is that we don't want this to say dropdown. We want this to actually say the user's name in our case. To do that, we're going to open up some ERB tags and access the current user variable that's provided by Devise, which I should mention is the provider of all of this login functionality. If you've been following along, I'm sure you already know that, but if you haven't, I'll link that video in the card as well as the description, so you can go ahead and check that video out as well. Now here on the user, we actually have a method that we wrote called full name. So let's use that now. Full name combines the first name, a space, then the last name, and then returns that to us as a string. So let's go ahead and use full name here. I just want to interrupt for a quick second to see if you're finding value here. And if you are, if you'd consider liking the video, subscribing to the channel, or sharing it with somebody you think might be interested in this type of content. And if you do, my coworker here, Bear, well, he's just gonna sleep. Unfortunately, we had an incident with an avocado pit that jumped into his stomach and had to be surgically removed. So he's a little under the weather, but he promises he'll be back to normal in about a week or so. We can flip back over to our application and refresh. Here you can see I'm logged in as Bear Bush's account. If you click his dropdown, then you can see he has the opportunity to view his profile or log out. If Bear decided he wanted to log out of his account to go, say, play fetch, then he could click the log out button. And as you can see, our navigation is updated. Now you have a login and sign up as opposed to the user dropdown. Now that we've completed our feature, let's go ahead and deploy that to production. So if we flip back over to the terminal, if you run get status, you can see some of the code that we've changed. The first thing we're going to do is go ahead and check out a branch, get checkout -b. We'll call this Bootstrap Nav. Then we can run get add dot to add all the changes that we've just made. Next we'll run get commit -m to commit our code with a message. Then we'll run get push to get this code into GitHub. Now if you were working with a team, this is when you would typically create a pull request in GitHub and then have your teammate review this. Since we're just working by ourselves as demonstration, we're just going to go ahead and merge this new code and deploy it now. So we're going to go ahead and get checkout master, then get merge, bootstrap nav, then get push. So our new merged code is in master. Then we'll run bundle exec cap production deploy. Push our code live. If you don't currently have Capistrano installed, or you need tips on how to get Capistrano installed, I have a video covering Capistrano in full detail, so I'll link that in the cards as well as the description below. Now that our code's finished deploying, you can go ahead and check adbs-rails.com and see the changes live. Here you can see I'm already logged in as my user. So I could view my profile using the newly added dropdown, as well as the users, videos, and homepage links. Also clicking the AWS Rails text logo will take us to the home as well. Finally, you can see the responsive collapse provided by Bootstrap if we shrink our page down a bit to get an idea of what this page would look like for mobile users. So I hope that helped you get up and running with the Twitter Bootstrap navbar element and getting that installed into your Rails application. As always, please leave questions or requests in the comment section below. In this video, we're covering Twitter Bootstrap. I've had requests from subscribers to cover some different frameworks like Tailwind, which I'll cover in a future series. So let me know if you'd like to see that Tailwind series, or if you'd like to see more Bootstrap stuff, or if there's another framework that you'd like to see, just let me know in the comment section below. As always, please don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps out the channel. And I'll catch you in the next quick tip.